Autoline Daily is brought to you by Dow Automotive Systems, improving durability and increasing design flexibility with Betamate structural adhesives at dowbetamate.com.
Here are today's top headlines. Toyota shuts some plants, considers doing another recall, and prolongs its PR nightmare. Texas sues the EPA in what could become a landmark decision, and a sneak peek at some of the cars coming to the Geneva Auto Show. Up next, we'll be back with the news behind the headlines. This is Autoline Daily for Wednesday, February 17, 2010, and now the news. Just when you thought things might be quieting down for Toyota, it jumps back to the top of the headlines. First off, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is demanding that the company hand over documents to see if it handled recalls in a timely manner. Of course, NHTSA itself is accused by some critics of having sat on its hands for years. Toyota also said it's considering recalling the Corolla for power steering problems. It also halted production of assembly plants in Kentucky, where it makes the Camry, and in Texas, where it makes the Tundra. Toyota CEO Akio Toyoda says he is going to personally lead a new quality task force at the company. But what is attracting a lot more attention is that he said he would not testify in the U.S. Congress. The AP reports that Toyota's top executive in the United States, Yoshimi Inaba, will testify instead. Akio Toyoda said he would consider it if asked, but my advice is you'd better do a better job of getting the word out that you are willing to come testify, because the way it's being reported here is that you're avoiding Congress, and that is a sure way to turn this into a bigger public relations nightmare. Hey, a big fight between Texas and the Environmental Protection Agency over its tailpipe emission limits is starting to brew. According to the Detroit News, Texas filed suit against the agency, hoping to block new emission standards for 2012. Last year, the EPA ruled that emissions were a threat to public health and imposed regulations that automakers accepted. However, Texas believes the limits will threaten thousands of jobs. Last week, a similar suit was filed by companies, members of Congress, and trade associations, claiming the EPA's decision was based on, and I quote, scientific errors and fraud. We'll have to keep an eye on this story, because if Texas forces the EPA to consider cost-benefit impacts of its regulations, many of those regulations would be thrown out. And in other Washington news, Senator Charles Schumer from New York introduced a bill that would require dealers to notify customers up front if a vehicle they want to purchase is subject to a recall. According to the Detroit News, dealers don't have to do that right now. Withholding info could result in fines and penalties. The bill would not just affect cars, but any product that has been recalled. Okay, now to the big product news coming out ahead of next month's Geneva Motor Show. Starting on the high end, Bentley has released photos of its Continental Supersports convertible. It seats 4 very lucky people and is the fastest drop top to ever come out of Crewe. Wards reports that Hyundai released an artist's rendering of its Geneva concept called the iFlow. Other than this sketch, what we know right now is that it's a D-segment sedan constructed of lightweight materials. Next up, Autoblog's running photos of Alfa Romeo's new concept that recently found their way onto the internet. Judging by the pictures, it looks like a 4-seat coupe with really swoopy styling and a weird name. It's called the Pandion, which apparently is a genus of osprey, and it's not related to the Fiat Panda with ion added to the end, Panda, Pandion. Anyway, Nissan will reveal a new crossover called the Juke, a compact utility vehicle that is dramatically styled. That's their words, not ours. But I've got to ask, is there room in Nissan's lineup for the Juke? It already has the small end of the market covered with the Rogue, the Cube, and the Versa hatchback. The Juke will go on sale in the U.S. later this fall. It's no secret that Volkswagen is working on a pickup. The company has released photos of its bizarrely named Amarok. But Autoblog has managed to nab a few spy shots of a regular cab short bed version of the truck. VW must have realized that many pickup users just need a basic work truck, no bells or whistles. So it's apparently working on a regular cab version as well. But if you're waiting for the Amarok to make it to the U.S., don't hold your breath. And coming up next, it is time for You Said It. And now it's time for some of your feedback. Dan Bush heard our report on Toyota recalling some 4x4 Tacomas in which I said it was a supplier problem. Toyota recall, but this one's not their fault, he asks? I thought that all manufacturers spec'd, then tested subcontractors' parts. Dan, they do spec and inspect those parts, but that's only in development. Once those parts go into mass production, Toyota, like virtually all automakers, relies on its suppliers to monitor their own quality. Dana, which makes the driveline parts, admitted it found a defect in its own manufacturing process, and that's why I said this one is not Toyota's fault. A very suspicious Lex saw our reports on Freudenberg NOK's new powertrain seal, which cuts friction, and says, let's see how long it takes the oil companies to buy the patent manufacturing rights to that 70% less friction seals made by Freudenberg NOK. It will be placed in the same vault where the 100-mile-per-gallon carburetor is sitting. Actually, Lex, Big Oil missed out on this one. That seal is already in production and is being used by a car company, although for competitive reasons, Freudenberg NOK will not identify which company that is. And finally, Kit Gerhardt saw that GM's new diesel can run on B20 and asks, why is it a big deal that the new Duramax diesel can burn B20 while a 1980s Mercedes diesel can burn straight fryer oil as long as you filter out the chunks of potato? Did the old Mercedes have seals more forgiving of different chemicals, or is it something else? Kip, I think you'll find that the Duramax could probably burn straight fryer oil. The question is, for how long? You know, when greaseoak fanatics convert diesels to run on grease, they don't have warranties that they have to honor. They don't have to meet government regulations on emissions, which are for 10 years or 150,000 miles, and they don't have to do it for hundreds of thousands of engines. That is why manufacturers are hyper-conscious when it comes to running their engines on biodiesel or even on ethanol. Hey, if you're into custom cars, hot rods, or just plain beautiful machinery, tune in to Autoline After Hours tomorrow night when our special guest will be Bob Larrivee, the owner of Autorama, the car show circuit that brings cruisers onto center stage. That's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern live at AutolineDetroit.tv. And that's it for today's top news in the global automotive industry. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.